Welcome back to the Eastern California Model Railroad. This will be update number 3 for mid-year 2019. We've had a good number of new subscribers since our previous updates, so I'll just cover some of the basics of the layout before we move on to what's new this year. The layout is part of Christmas Tree Lane Model Railroad Society in Altadena, CA, which is best described as a non-club club. Confused yet? Well, we are too, but less bureaucracy, no membership dues, and avoiding the drama of the big clubs has worked pretty well so far. Eastern California version 2.0 is our main layout and is open to the public every year during the Christmas light display, most weekends in December. We get a lot of visitors, which really keeps me and the gang going to have new parts of the layout to show each year. In addition to the December open houses, we do monthly op sessions, work days, and our annual Volunteer Kids Day the first weekend in May, just to do our part to introduce kids to the hobby. This year we had about 20 kids sign up, and the adults got to run too. The layout aims to be pretty massive when it's finished. Despite the Eastern California name, the layout actually models a route from San Diego to Seattle, Washington. Because of space limitations, the layout is stacked on up to 5 decks in some places. Each deck is visually separated from the next, so you never see the same train travel through the same scene twice. Despite the stacked levels, there will be no helix, and trains will move from San Diego on the bottom level to Seattle on the top level through appropriate terrain, some of it level, some of it on grades up to 3%. So this is true to prototype model railroading, and multi-unit lash-ups are pretty normal. You've got to load balance, plan your consist, and honestly, it's a lot more fun that way. The layout is being completed in patchwork sections. There are currently 3 runnable layouts so far. The first section, from Santa Ana to Santa Clarita in Southern California, includes a large LA Union Station complex with the correct number of tracks. We're only missing the Gold Line right now, but that will probably be added at some point. The Southern California section is all double track and can accommodate some pretty long trains. There are also 2 huge yards, one for passenger and one for freight. The second section in service is known as the Inside Gateway and runs from the Portola area in Northern California to Chemult, Oregon, just north of Klamath Falls. It's a pretty mountainous part of the layout, and it's all single track with sidings. The guys like to stage meets along the main, and there are also a lot of industries to switch along this section, making it popular for those wanting to run a local as well. The newest addition to the layout is the Seattle and Stampede Pass section on the top deck. It has King Street Station for passenger trains and UP's Argo Yard for freight traffic. Reversing loops at Everett, Washington and San Diego are in place, but won't be connected for several years as we work to build the missing parts in between. The Stampede Pass section has a temporary return loop at the top. The pass is actually the highest physical point on the layout, and 5 dizzying decks below is the lowest point at San Diego. The first half of 2019 saw construction on the 5th deck starting with Seattle. The Space Needle was scratch built, as were most of the industries in the Seattle area. We're also modeling the Boeing plant in Renton, Washington, even though it's a little bit further from the main line than we had space to show. We also have a fictional passenger train that runs the length of the layout from LA to Seattle, called the Sierra Prospector. So you see a fair number of station platforms along the main line for the train to make station stops. We cover some of the info on the route and train in earlier updates, so be sure to check out the links in the description. From Auburn, Washington, the route heads southeast over Stampede Pass. Scenery is coming along in Seattle and the climb up to the top of the pass. It's on track to be completed by the end of the year. We've also started working on new parts of the connecting sections, most recently with the addition of more modular structures to house the layout. One problem with being located in a metro area is lack of layout space. And since we are on a historic street, we were just out of space. So I took the one module approach a step further and designed outdoor modular sections that could be erected easily and accommodate a multi-level layout. We weren't able to make them light enough to move around like originally planned, but they are pretty easy to build and make setup quick and relatively painless. We've kept to the one module approach in spirit, and we don't move on to new sections until the previous one is done or close to being done. By that I mean basic scenery and lighting. There will always be details to add later. The goal for the second half of 2019 is to complete Seattle and Stampede Pass, and add an additional 20 feet to all of the main lines, as well as start work on 4 other smaller sections of the route. Provided we have time, this would add Solana Beach through San Diego and the National City Freight Yard in the south, Mojave Yard to Cantil, California, the Sparks Yard to Carson City, Nevada, and Redmond to the Crooked River Gorge in Oregon. Working with such a massive prototype, it's easy to wind up with cities that are unrealistically close to one another. We've done our best to create the largest possible space between towns. And where that isn't possible, have the route pass around a peninsula or other scenery break to show the passage of distance. Using this method, every significant town and scenic highlight on the route will be part of the layout, hopefully giving visitors a sense of trains really going someplace. It's hard at this point to estimate how many feet of mainline will be part of the completed layout, or how long it will take to travel, but it should be up there with some of the largest model railroad clubs out there when it's done. So that's where we're at. We have about 40 members, and while we're not currently accepting new members, we're a young group and our members come and go, so space sometimes has turnover. If you get a chance to come see us during the holidays, it's a lot of fun for kids of all ages. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out our future updates.
I'm going to eat this
Ghirardelli? Dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate, yeah.
You're gonna chase it, right?
I'm gonna chase it with Voco vodka coconut water bull.
Let's see it.
Shut up.
How was it?
I know several things that taste better than this.